Hi, everybody. I'm going to give everybody just one more minute to get logged on. It looks like we've got a few of you, but we do have a lot to cover. So I'll give it a second, then we'll get started.
And will I be able to see anybody or?
No, it's
Okay,
webinar format. So
very
they can raise hands and enter stuff into the chat or the Q&A, but
good.
they'll
Okay.
stay and not on video.
Okay.
All
Good.
right, let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Cece Mortar and I'm the Director of Business Development at the Steamboat Springs Chamber. I wanted to start out by giving a quick shout out to our Business Education Series sponsors, Mountain Valley Bank, UC Health, Northwest Data Services, the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, and Route County. A couple of house cleaning items. Please switch your chat to everyone so that everyone can see your chat. And then we'll be taking questions at the end in the last 10 minutes, but you can feel free to put your questions in the Q&A or in the chat kind of as you go and they come to mind. I'm honored to introduce our speaker today, Jennifer Lewis. Jennifer is a certified EOS implementer and an Outgrow advisor. She works with growth-minded businesses who are ready to get unstuck and grow with clarity and confidence. Her approach is focused on simple behaviors that create real traction, and she brings a real-world experience, including helping scale a national retail organization from just 5 locations to over 350. She's based in Northern Colorado. She's worked with us before in the last session, and she works with companies of all sizes across the country. So we're so honored to have you here. Please help me welcome Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I appreciate it. And good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm so glad that you're here. And I just want to start with a quick question. So I think I'll be able to see your hands if you guys can raise your hand. Who here would like to grow their business by 15 to 30% this year? I know that most businesses that I talk to, they want to grow in some way, some form, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today. And I'm going to show you a simple, practical way to add that kind of growth to your guys' businesses. So what I'm going to share with you guys today is a simple, proven system for winning more market share and creating predictable revenue growth. It's one of the most important things I've learned in my career, and it's something I've used to grow businesses for years that I practice this in my own business today. So I'm excited to share it with you all. Let's see. All right. So for those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Jennifer Lewis. I'm a business advisor, a certified EOS implementer, and a certified Outgrow advisor. So early in my career, like Cece said, I was a VP of sales for a nationwide retail company that grew from 5 locations to 350 locations while increasing revenue about 20% year over year in what was actually a declining market. My role was leading the sales organization and I was responsible for generating that growth through proactive outreach and consistently asking customers for the business. So today I work with leadership teams to implement EOS so everyone is clear and aligned in the business and executing on the business and as well as in the business. And I help companies create proactive, predictable revenue growth. And the system I'm going to share with you guys today helps companies do this consistently, and it's called Outgrow. So Outgrow is a system that was created by Alex Goldfein. Alex is an author of 7 business books, several of them New York Times bestsellers. His most recent book is called Outgrow, which was released this year and sold more than 10,000 copies in its first week. It quickly went to number 2 on Amazon, right behind Atomic Habits, which tells you how much demand there is right now for practical ways to grow revenue. And so, what Alex captured in this book are the simple habits and behaviors that consistently drive sales growth, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, I put this slide up here because I wanted it to remind me to let you guys know that I am going to put this QR code up at the end. So just wait till the end, and I would be happy to send you a book, the book Outgrow. And also get a little feedback. So I will send that to you, or excuse me, I will share that with you at the end of the webinar. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what actually Outgrow is. At its core, Outgrow is a system for creating about 15 to 30% revenue growth year after year. And the interesting thing is, it's actually extremely simple. It's really about two things. One is mindset, and the second is behavior. And two-thirds of this work, so the majority of this work is mindset, and about one-third is all about technique. Because the truth is, most business owners and customer facing teams already know what they should be doing to grow their business. The challenge is we're just not consistently doing it. Outgrow changes all of that. It focuses on simple, proactive actions that you and your sales team can take to stay in front of your customers, ask for the business, and create more opportunities. And when those actions start happening consistently, the growth becomes predictable. So let me show you a quick example. This is a revenue chart of one Outgrow client. Each of these ups and downs represents a whole year. The blue line is a 3-month rolling average, and the red line is a 12-month rolling average. You can see the seasonality is pretty clear. Revenue goes up in the summer and then drops in the winter. So it goes summer, winter, summer, winter. Each peak is another year. So here's what's interesting. For about 5 years before we started working with them, the revenue was basically flat to slightly down, flat to down for 5 straight years. Then they implemented Outgrow, and you can see what happened next. Their revenue started climbing up. And the reason I like showing this example is because I can show you chart after chart from different companies that look very similar once they start doing the work. So, what's actually happening here for the first 5 years on this chart, the sales were mostly happening to them. Customers were calling in, they were submitting requests or reaching out when they needed something. The team was doing an excellent job responding, taking orders, and serving the customer. And honestly, that's about how 90 to 95% of companies operate. They're really good at taking care of incoming business, but there usually isn't much proactive selling happening. So, what you'll end up with is a strong customer service function in the business, and a strong order taking function, but not much in a way of consistently creating new opportunities. And that's what Outgrow changes. What you are going to see this in the last half on this chart is different. Those sales didn't just happen to them. Those are the sales they actually created. They were created by proactive behaviors from teams reaching out to customers, starting conversations, and asking for the business. And when those behaviors start happening consistently, the revenue starts moving like you see here. So here's another way to think about what you just saw, is the difference between reactive selling and proactive selling, right? A customer calls in, an email comes in, someone fills out a form, and the team responds and takes care of it. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that. Most companies are very good at that. But let me ask you, how many of your salespeople today, or you, if you are the salesperson, are if the sales are happening right now, is it because customers reach out to you versus you reaching out to them? And I want you to be honest when you think about that, because that's the shift right there, is what changes the growth curve in any business. When teams start consistently reaching out to their customers and starting conversations and asking for the business and just helping and just having a relationship with those customers that you already have, the growth becomes much more predictable. And across hundreds of companies doing this work, the average growth we see is about 15 to 30%. So, sales is not something that should happen to you. Sales is something you are in total control of. One of the biggest shifts in clients' experience when they start doing the work is realizing that sales really isn't about pushing or convincing people. It's about helping more customers, helping them more often, helping them with more of the things you already do really well. The reality is, your customers don't know everything that you offer. Many of you guys have hundreds of different SKUs, different products, or different services. And really, customers don't know everything that you offer. They're busy running their own businesses and solving their own problems. So when you proactively reach out to these people and start having conversations and checking in with them and asking how they're doing and actually building a relationship, you're not bothering them. You're actually helping them. And when you help more people off more often, the sales naturally flow. Now, here's the funny thing about everything that we're going to be talking about today. You already know it, all of it. I know. Aren't you pretty glad that you signed up for this webinar so someone could tell you a bunch of things that you already know? It's true. But here's the reality. Knowing what to do doesn't sell anything. Knowing what to do doesn't make you guys money. Knowing what to do definitely does not feed your family. We're in business, and in the business that we're in, we don't get paid to know things. We're not teachers, we're not professors, where we're just teaching. We get paid to actually do things. We get paid to take action. So as we go through this today, none of this is going to be complicated or like, earth shattering. The real question is this: what are you actually going to do with the information that I'm going to give you guys today? And I want you to be thinking about that as I go through this. And my hope is that you walk away with a couple of simple ideas from today and you actually put them into action. This is all about doing, not just knowing. We don't need more information. You guys need to go out and do the work, because if you do, you can start creating more revenue in your business starting right away. So let me give you a couple simple examples of this. There's three simple truths that you already know. That's not exactly groundbreaking, like I shared with you. And yet, what do we all do? One, phone calls are more effective than emails. And yet we send the email. We think about what happens after you send an email. You wait, and then you start wondering, did they see it? Are they mad at me? Did they change their mind? Did they go with someone else? You have no idea. And the truth is when you send an email, your message ends up sitting in the same inbox as spam or maybe Best Buy promotions or everything else people are ignoring. A phone call, on the other hand, creates a conversation. And actually, a few of you on this webinar experienced this with me. I picked up the phone and called you first, and then I followed up with either a text message, which is most effective, which you'll hear me say later. And if I didn't have a phone number for a text, then I followed up with an email. I'm not going to call anyone out, but you know who you are. That's the point. The phone call creates the relationship. The email just supports it. Here's another one. Everyone knows that referrals are the best way to get business. And yet, how often do we ask for them? So, again, none of what we're talking about today is complicated. It's not rocket science. It's simple on purpose, because if it isn't simple, people won't actually do it. And the third is that you cannot communicate less and sell more. You just can't. You can't just not pick up the phone and think that it's just business is going to happen, to you. It doesn't happen like that for most of us. And so the more that you guys can communicate and talk to your customers and build relationships, the more that you're going to sell. So if we know these things, then why do you think we don't do them? And the truth is it's because of fear. Fear is what is keeping us from doing these kind of things. I want to share a couple of stories with you just about some people that I have experienced in my own life. So I was at Caribou Coffee in the airport in Chicago. Sorry, Minneapolis. That's where I was. And I went to go get a coffee, and the coffee cost about $5. And the worker that was behind the counter said, I'm curious, do you need water? And I said, actually, I do, because I, drained my water bottle, and I'm going to get thirsty. And so I paid for my coffee and my water, and realized when I got my receipt that the water was about $7 and 50 cents versus my coffee, which was, $5, $6. and which is crazy because it says caribou coffee, not caribou water. And so just by that simple question, and we call that question a did you know question, which just shares with your customers some other products that you offer. Just by asking that did you know question, she more than doubled her actual ticket sale. So I asked the girl behind the counter, I said, "Hey, I'm just curious, does Caribou ask or train you guys on saying this?" And she did say yes, that is something that they work on. And so I was just like, excited because as a salesperson, I'm like, wow, that's awesome because I could have gone down to Hudson News and gotten a water and it might have been cheaper. I don't know. Water's expensive in the airport. And so, but why I got it at Caribou is because it was just convenient. It was convenient that I was already there. I didn't need to go to Hudson News. And so, of course, I said yes. So I want you guys to be thinking of what's your water in your company that you could be offering and helping other customers that you already do business with. The second is another example that just happened this past month. I moved this last weekend, and like most people do, I reached out to a few moving companies to get quotes, and I contacted three different companies. All three of them sent me information, but only one of them followed up with me, and that's NextGen. They picked up the phone and called me to check in, make sure I got the quote. They asked, "Did you have any questions on that quote?" Which I actually did because you have to have like moving pads and there's some different line items and so on and so forth. And so they just wanted to see if they could answer any questions on the quote and see if they could help me. And so I actually hired NextGen. And here's the really interesting part. I got three quotes, and they were definitely not the cheapest. They were the most expensive, not by a little, but they were the highest quote. But the reason that I went with them is that I felt like I could trust them. They picked up the phone. They had a relation, they started a relationship with me. They wanted to be helpful. They were very thorough, and they made it super easy for me to say yes when the others. In fact, I actually knew the other business owner, and he didn't respond to me for a whole week and then just sent me an email and said, "Hey, sorry, I was out of the office. How can I help you?" And this was like 2 days prior to me actually moving. So the moral of the story is most companies send the quote or the email and then they wait. They don't even pick up the phone and follow up. So the companies that grow are the ones that follow up, they start the conversation, and they ask for the business. And that is exactly what NextGen did. So back to the first slide, what is the thing that keeps us from doing the things that we know we should do? And fear is what the answer is. But fear of what? And the truth is fear of rejection. Sales is a rejection business, and fear is the strongest emotion in the human body. Fear is actually tied directly to our survival. Our brains are wired to detect threats quickly so we can protect ourselves. Thousands of years ago, that kept us alive. The challenge is our brains still react in that same way today. The human brain hasn't evolved like technology has. Even when the threat is something like making a phone call or asking a question to a customer, that is signaled in the brain as a fear. So what happens in business and sales is that the fear shows up in the really subtle ways. People think things like, "I don't want to bother them," or "what if they say no?" Or maybe they're busy, or "I'll just send an email instead." And before you know it, the call never happens. The outreach doesn't happen. The conversation that could have led to more business never happens. So instead of creating opportunities, we end up waiting for opportunities, right? I'll say it again. So instead of us us creating opportunities, we end up waiting for opportunities. We wait for our phone to ring. And that's the difference between reactive selling and proactive selling. Outgrow really is about helping people push through that fear and realize something's important. Reaching out to your customers isn't bothering them, it's actually helping them. You're checking in, you're staying connected, and you're making sure they're getting the full value of what you offer. And once teams make that mindset shift, it becomes much easier to take the action that actually drives growth. So let me share a little bit of the science behind procrastination, because what happens when we have fear, we either fight, flight, or freeze. And that leads to procrastination. And so when we think about doing something uncomfortable, the brain interprets that discomfort as a potential threat. The amygdala, which is the part of the brain responsible for detecting danger, activates before our logical brain has time to step in. Now, obviously, making a sales call or following up with a prospect isn't dangerous, but the brain still reacts in a similar way. So, what does it do? It tries to protect us by helping us avoid that discomfort. And that's where procrastination comes from. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's usually fear. So, let me give you just like a personal example about weight loss. I go in and out of it, of going into the gym, and losing those 10 pounds. I wish I was one of those steady people who just does the right thing all of the time, but I'm not. I'll be disciplined for a while. I'm eating healthy, I'll work out, I'll do all the right things, and then I'll stop. And once you stop, it's really hard to start again. And the funny thing is I know exactly what to do. I've done it so many times, and the formula is not complicated. It's not. Eat better, exercise, and move more. And none of that is new information. So why do I avoid it sometimes? Because I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know I'll have to give up some things I enjoy, like those really good Starbucks lattes. And I know that when I go to the gym and I start working out and lifting weights, it will hurt a little bit. And I know I'll be sore. So the brain says maybe next week, and next week becomes next month, and sales works the exact same way. Most people already know what they should do to grow sales. They should follow up, they should call customer that, and they should ask for referrals, but fear creeps in. What if I bother them? What if I say no? What if they're busy? So instead of making the calls, we delay it, and that's how fear turns into procrastination. So, like I said before, sales is the rejection profession. Now, let's connect it back to you or your sales teams. Imagine you're the owner, sales leader, and you say to your team, all right, we're going to start doing this. 5 proactive calls a day. Let's go. Everyone nods, everyone agrees, and then it doesn't happen. Not because people are lazy, not because they don't understand what to do. It's because fear is stronger than the instruction. Fear of rejection, fear of bothering someone, fear of hearing no. And this is why so many corporate change initiatives fail. They focus on what people should do, but they don't address the mindset that keeps people from doing it. And that's why Outgrow is 2/3 mindset, because if we don't deal with the fear first, the behavior never sticks. Now, here's the reality of sales. We work in what is basically the rejection profession. The very best salespeople on the planet might succeed 10 to 15% of the time, which means 8 or 9 times out of 10, they're going to hear no, right? We're going to hear no most of the time. That's a ton of rejection. But here's the important mindset shift. There's no's, excuse me, those no's are not the problem. The no's are the path to all of the yeses. If you avoid the no's, you also avoid yeses. And the most successful people in any room are usually the ones hearing the no the most, because they're the ones having the most conversations. The people don't hear no often, very often, usually aren't selling very much. And that's the shift we're trying to make. Instead of avoiding rejection, we learn to expect it, accept it, and move through it, because every no gets us closer to the yes. So, what makes us afraid? And we kind of already touched on this, and it's just that rejection. And so what happens in this reactive selling vicious cycle is that we get a new lead, we engage, then they stop engaging, and then it goes back to this dead lead. We get so many no's, it's discouraging, it feels bad, it feels like death, and on top of that, we're hearing from our unhappy customers, from if you're in in the business that you have to fix some issues, right? Most of the people that are picking up the phone of our customers are saying, "Hey, I didn't get this delivered," or "I have this kind of issue," and so we're hearing these no's or negativity. And so what we do um, is that we go to these quiet, quiet and happy prospects and clients that you don't hear very much. And so we want to go to all of these happy customers that you already have because 90 to 95% of the customers that you're working with are extremely happy. And we want to talk to them. And so this is what we do. This is how we deal with and eliminate the fear. We go to the quiet, happy prospects and clients. And when we talk to them, one of the things that we do is talk to the customers or clients in the workshop that I do to implement Outgrow. That takes 90 days, and we interview five of those customers and get some really great feedback that we use to work on our mindset of us as salespeople, our business owners, and our team as salespeople as well. And we get the real client and we get the customer feedback, and then we share it with the team. So these are the types of words that clients are saying. And I had to just put D in for the customer's name, makes you feel really important. D ranks as my number one supplier out of all the ones I've ever worked with. It would take twice as long with other suppliers what I do with D. D is a wholesaler that has your back. They're very receptive when you call them. I know Tim as a person. I know his wife, and he knows mine. They make it personal. You're not just an order. They're loyal. Their personality is fun. They are fun people to work with. They're really punctual, good relationship. So these are all the things that I am hearing when I go to the happy customers because usually we're hearing from the not happy customers, and that gets in our brains of what's actually what we feel like our clients are thinking, but that's not what they're thinking. And so this is what I do is I actually share it with them, with the companies that I work with. So that way they know how good you guys actually are. And so what we want to do is we want to believe them and behave accordingly. So that way we can pick up the phone and actually help more people. And so what happens when you regularly and systematically hear this kind of feedback is that we create a culture of positivity, confidence, optimism, gratitude, happiness, perseverance, and boldness. And this is the culture that we instill into Outgrow. And like I said, this eliminates the fear, inoculates you against it. It makes that fear go away, confidence. You definitely should take credit for everything that every customer goes to. One action that I would say from this webinar is go to your happy customers and just ask how, interview them, hear what they are saying. What are you doing really well? This is the vaccine against fear, and this will help you guys understand what those customers are thinking. So that way you can put it into a folder and remind your salespeople or yourself of what they're actually thinking about so that fear goes away. So when we help more people more with a repeated, systematic, lightning fast, proactive communications to customers and prospects, we are able to sell more. And this is the starting position of clients that they want to be helped. I liked this quote that says, your clients are paying for their dreams and their dreams are priceless. And so obviously, whatever your product or service that you deliver is helping them with those dreams. So how do we know we can count on growth? Be Behavior follows mindset. It's impossible to outsell your mindset. The key to selling more is to get in control of your thinking, get control of your thoughts. We get paid for growing revenue, but I believe my clients hire me because of the mindset thing. We can go to, where can you go for positivity, optimism, joy, and happiness? It's certainly not the news. And people don't do it on their own. So you, as a business owner, a salesperson, have to bring this to your guys' clients. So you have 20%. So excuse me, 20% here is just by showing up. Um, and and we go to those happy ones when we spend time talking to the happy ones. They tell us what they're happy about. And when we marinate in the positivity, that fear goes away. So what we do in Outgrow is we measure effort, kind of like taking a swing of a bat. Um, so many baseball players will take a swing of a bat and never make contact with a ball. And so we use some terms in Outgrow of did you know and reverse did you know. Did you know questions are some another product or service that you guys have to offer to your clients. A reverse did you know question is what else are you buying from my competition that I can help you with? And so I want to talk with you guys about the did you know and reverse did you know questions. Um, and so we know with these batting averages that when you ask or when you take a swing of a bat and call somebody and leave a voicemail and you send a text message right after that voicemail, 66% return communication. The did you know question, so that did you know question again is did you know that, I offer, if you're an insurance broker, that I offer life insurance, right? Or that I offer short-term disability. Those did you know questions will add 20%, will add another line item if you ask. The reverse did you know question, like I said before, is what else can I help you with, or what else are you buying from my competition that that I can help you with? 80% will name additional products. The pivot to the sale. This is the important one, right? So many times salespeople or will help people and say, "Did you know we have this or that?" But we won't actually ask and pivot for the sale or the next conversation to get a appointment on the calendar to follow up. If we do that, 25% will say yes. And then 75% will schedule the next interaction when you pivot to the next conversation. Percent of business questions, 40% will add an additional product. So if you ask them what else you can help them with. And then the referrals, right? You can ask for internal referral requests if you work with really large businesses. 66% will provide internal referrals. And then 66% will provide an external referral. So I love working with businesses that are just like yours. Is there anybody else that you know that I can help? So if you ask for that external request, 66% will provide another a name for you guys. So this kind of just goes into the voicemail. So 2 out of 3 voicemails followed by a text message will communicate back. And why we say text message is most of the time people have their phones, right? Or a smartwatch. And so if you follow with a text message, they'll just see who called. And that's when they'll give back rather than sending an email. Sometimes we don't have a phone number, so then I would say send an email. But we know 2 out of 3 voicemails followed by a text message will communicate back. And so I always joke, this is so hard, but really it's not. It's just, hey, Will, it's Jen. I was thinking about you the other day because I was talking with a customer and they reminded me of you. They're doing some really great work with me, and I think that I think would work really well for you also. Let's talk about that. and catch up and hear the latest in your world. And then send a text. And all you have to say is, hey, Will, it's Jen per my voicemail. How's Tuesday or Wednesday at 1 p.m.? And then they're going to actually listen to the voicemail. So this is not hard. Like I said before, this is extremely simple. Here's some other, just talking points. Open catch up. I was thinking about I was thinking about you. How's your family? And just, talk about their family and then shift to business. What do you have going on that I can help you with? Reverse, did you know question, what are you buying from my competition that I can help you with? Did you know that I can help you with X or Y? And what else did you need quoted? And then pivot to the sale. When would you like to get together to sign the papers? When would you like to schedule the demo? And then to the next conversation, what would you like to speak next and calendar it? And when do you want to follow up? When do you want me to follow up with you? So again, these are just so simple, but just simple reminders that we need from time to time. 20% of those did you know questions will close. 80% of those reversed it questions lead to a new product or service or opportunity named. And so I always just ask, when is the last time you got a proactive call from a supplier or vendor when nothing is wrong? And the truth is when I ask this in a crowd, I have very few people raise their hand. Almost everybody will raise their hand and say that they've gotten a spam call, but this is not what we're calling people that we already know or that have already engaged with us. And so most everybody that raises their hand, it might be two in a crowd, and they can tell me the supplier's name. They can say where they were, whether they were driving in a car or they were sitting in their office. They can tell me if it was raining or sunny or it was snowing. The point is they can tell the most amount of detail when somebody actually has a conversation with a supplier or vendor versus when somebody actually sent an email, because I have probably 30 emails in my inbox right now. And so that's why those proactive calls are so imperative and so impactful. So here's what we do as Outgrows. Here's the system. So we go on a weekly cadence. We figure out who we're going to call. And so as an action item today, I would like you just to put on a timer on your phone, and I usually do this in real time. And I'll have you write down 10 people in your business that you can call right now. It's either a quote that you need to follow up on, a warm lead that you just got recently. It could be, customers that you haven't talked to in, 3 months or 6 months. And the point is I want you guys just to write down 10 people in the next 2 minutes and really think of who you can have a rich conversation with, just to check in. So then what I want you guys to do this week is to communicate. Third, in Outgrow, we log all of our actions because it didn't happen if it didn't get logged, and we have a system that you log all of that information. Then we get very powerful data that we share on a weekly basis. And this is the biggest piece. The biggest piece around Outgrow is celebrating wins. We really want to celebrate all of the great conversations that we had with our teams and make sure that we're really highlighting what went really well. This is very much based on positive psychology, so that way others on the team can share with those wins and actually learn from those wins too, and maybe use it in their own calls. So here's the Outgrow weekly cadence. Every single person that's customer facing is who I work with. So we assign 5 proactive calls each day. So 5 calls. Each call takes about 30 seconds if you're, picking up the phone, leaving a voicemail, and sending a text message. Now, granted, we'll talk to maybe 2 or 3 of those people because oftentimes people are just busy and they're not going to pick up their phone, but that's okay because we're on the forefront of their mind. We're going to ask five did you know questions, five reverse did you know questions. And then if you guys have quote follow-ups, we want to just put five, we want to follow up with five. And then this one is probably one of my favorites is a handwritten note because this just doesn't happen very much anymore, but it's really special when you can send a handwritten note thanking somebody for an opportunity. So then with the Outgrow actions, you're going to communicate what actually happened with your team and share those five calls that you did every single day at the end of the week or the first of the week. We have an Outgrow proactive planner that I will send to Cece so that way she can send that to you. But this is to help you guys really get thinking of who you guys need to have conversations with. And then you can log your actions in a CRM, but we actually have a form that we log actions in. And here's an example of a tracking form. And then we get really powerful data that we share with all of our teams. So this is like a weekly readout that we have with customer facing people of how many proactive calls that people did. And then did you know questions, reverse did you know questions, how many of those proactive calls they pivoted to the next conversation, referrals asked, and then what new opportunities were created, quoted, and then closed. So this gets sent out on a weekly basis. And this is just an example of a weekly readout. So as you can see, the black line is action. So the more actions people take, the more sales that they actually close. It's just as simple as that. And then we share the success stories and recognition. And so we send out just some newsletters of what people are doing, how many sales that they closed. And these are, obviously for, three or four people organizations or more. Um, and this is kind of just a case study of, again, just the more actions you can take, the higher the revenue goes. So, Um, I pick up the phone every single day because I want to provide a good life for my family. And I'm sure that's probably your why too. And so these are my three kids that just remind me of why I pick up the phone every single day to help more people, to help them grow their business, to get more aligned, to create this really positive culture with Outgrow and helping more people sell more. And so I'm sure that you guys have your own why, but I think it's really important that we tie it back to our why because that's part of the mindset work that we do every single day. So I'm going to pause there. I'm a few minutes early, but I would love to just open it up for some questions and any comments. And so, Cece, do you want to let me know of any questions that might have come up?
There are none yet, but we'll give everyone a
Okay.
chance to kind of put them in there.
And I'm
While we're waiting, I guess I'll ask a question. I've been in a retail store. I've actually worked in a retail store back in the day that demanded that their employees essentially put like five things over the door, right? And when you're shopping and the person that's doing that doesn't really know you and they just toss these five things over the door, it convinced me not to buy from them in that case, right? So I guess how do you avoid that interaction and the salesy piece of it and make it sound genuine
yeah,
for the person?
yeah. So in person is a little bit different than like the proactive calls, but I think for sure it's just getting to know, the person. And so in Outgrow, we're really talking about who is it that you already know. These are warm conversations, not just a cold interaction. So you're looking at your customer list or your quoted list and just having a conversation and asking, how's their family or what was I make really good notes about, what I talked about with the time before. And so I think it's just important to go back to those notes and ask, what might be happening. So for you, Cece, it would be like, how's your husband's business going? And just really listening and being present. And so in a retail location, I think it's just like, maybe commenting and giving a compliment, right? And just having a genuine conversation with somebody as to why they're in the store, if that exact example that you just gave to me is really important. And rather than just, throwing things over the the door to say, hey, try this on. I think it's like that human connection that we need to slow down and really just have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't see any other questions in, but as a reminder for everyone to kind of scan that QR code if they want the Outgrow book, is that what you? Then we've got questions coming in now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes, that is what the QR code is just, yeah, if they want a free book of Outgrow and read the system, I just kind of gave the movie version of Outgrow.
Thank you. Okay, I'll get to the questions. If I wear many hats in the business, do you suggest time blocking for these calls? And if so, on certain days or times to get the most answers or engagement?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, I do. I'm a huge proponent of time blocking, and so I have an assistant. But even if you don't, what I would suggest is time blocking. So I always just take, 2 hours out of my week and just spend time picking up the phone and having conversation. And then I also will call when I'm in the car too, because it's easy to do. And so what I suggest is like a 2 hour window. Fridays are always a really great day of the week because it's at the end of the week. Mondays are kind of like everybody in businesses, in meetings and kind of gearing up for the week. So I think Fridays are a really good time to call. And then what I have my assistant do is I have her put the name and then I have her put the phone number in my actual calendar as well. So that way, if I am in the car, I can just, hit the phone number and it will just dial really easily. But we always plan on Mondays who I'm going to call. So that way I know, I'm already being proactive and who I'm calling and I know why I'm calling them. So that would be my suggestion.
Perfect. How much does outside advertisement, i.e., radio ads, social media, email marketing, help with growth versus in-house advertising?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so I am not a marketer, so I can't, I would, I want to speak from experience. But what's interesting about Outgrow is that you don't have to use actual marketing, right? So what I want you guys to do, and like what I said before, is I want you just to write down 10 names of people that you already do business with in your business. And so this doesn't have to do anything with marketing at all, right? You're going to the people that you already know and seeing if you can help them anymore. Can they buy something else? So they might, if you're, like I said before, an insurance broker, can you offer them life insurance? Is there somebody that doesn't have life insurance? I wish I would have, had an insurance broker that suggested that to me at one point in time because I needed life insurance. I have 3 kids, and when my husband passed away, I realized I didn't have life insurance, and so it's like, why I wasn't thinking about that. That would have helped me out a whole lot, right? That would peace of mind. And so, Chris, I'm not sure if I exactly answered it, but Outgrow is to help you not spend money on more marketing. It's to help you grow your business with what customers you already have.
Okay. There's still time if you guys want to put in questions. I will just kind of start giving my closing spiel, which will give you guys that time as you think through it. But I do want to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you, Jennifer, for your time and your insight on all of this. This has been incredible. For everyone on our attendee list. If you guys have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to facilitate the questions and get an answer for you if it comes up after the fact. And then I also just wanted to share some upcoming chamber events. We've opened our individual registration and all access pass for our Chamber Summit series, which includes our Economic Summit, the Thrive Together Women's Leadership Summit, and Empower Yampa Valley. There are three high caliber professional development conferences right here in the Valley. So you can skip the travel, skip the hotel, skip the $1,000 conference fee. We're so lucky to bring in these speakers. So I hope we'll see you there. We also have a Thrive Luncheon coming up on March 17th with speaker Molly Woodhull, founder of Woodhull Wellness. She'll go over mental and emotional resilience, how to shift stress responses to improve focus, communication, and decision making under pressure for you and your team, and how to lead with compassion-informed skills that build trust. So that'll be a fun one. Lunch is included. It'll be at the Rat County Community Room. And then come April, we'll have the state of the city and county and preparing for peak a summer lodging and industry outlook for anybody that's in the tourism industry and excited for summer. So I'll send those in the follow-up. If you guys, again, have any questions, reach out. It doesn't look like we're getting any more, so I'll let everybody go on with their day. Thank you, Jennifer. We
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you.
Thank you for
Have a
having
great day,
me. Take care,
everyone.
everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.